boxwood hedge had grown up to about 3.5 feet tall, covering the bottom of the windows. There many different kinds of trees had been planted along the front of the home. And when you walked up to the front door, you really looked at the neighbor's house. This is the finished. What we did is we cut the boxwood way back. We made them much smaller. She was also having a wedding. So for any of y'all who have done that, you know you're not re-landscaping your home and having a wedding at the same time. So we were trying to be prudent and help with that. We also pruned all the ficus pomela that was growing on the front of the home so that it was more controlled. And we took out the varying trees in the front, used them in the back where we could, and then established a couple of holly trees in front of the windows. This was Terrell Hill's most dangerous front walkway. This walkway was broken in 3 places. It had moss growing on it. The curb had pulled away from the sidewalk. It was about an 8-inch fall, so they had filled it in with gravel along the edge, which kept the irrigation system from working, so all the grass had died. And if any of you all who live in Terrell Hills know it's very expansive there and very difficult to get things to stay in place. So the big challenge here, and the walk also kind of curved off, so the big challenge here really was just to create a new walk for them and get a new walk in so that they could reuse their irrigation. And we just put a walk that went straight to the front door, very simple. We got the city to redo the section of curb where we were bringing the landing out, and we put in a very simple textured concrete walkway. They have 2 kids in college, and we had to understand that. I've understood that part before. The pre-pictures of this, we couldn't scan in for some reason. They didn't want to be scanned in. But basically, this property had 12 feet of fall in a very small backyard. And it was a hillside that literally had grass on it. And you looked into the neighbor's backyard. And so what we did is we actually created a spa on the upper level that spills down into the lower level. And then we created this entertainment space. There's the spa on the left with a fireplace that blocks the view to the neighbor. And that wall that's holding up the fireplace and the foundation of the fireplace actually bring the whole elevation of the back up. So there's 1 step out the back door now instead of 20. And there's no hillside anymore. There's 2 levels. And so they spend a lot of time now out here in their back with this Rumford fireplace, having a good time and enjoying their back garden. I wanted to save, we've only got about 7 minutes left, but I wanted to save the last few minutes for any specific questions that you might have about either, it could be personally about your landscape or any other questions you have about developing or energizing a tired landscape. Yes?
I have a piece of property that come off the porch, and there's nothing growing there. It's, like you said, I have the neighbor's water coming through. And I got grass on one side. There's 3 trees back there, two types of oaks, and one that looks like a Japanese pistache.
Yes.
And right at the Japanese pistache, there's nothing growing there. It just does not. Half of that side I put in a patio. I don't know what to do with the other side.
Is it all irrigated the same way?
No.
It's not irrigated?
No irrigated.
Okay. Her question is that she goes outside and half of her landscape has grass and the other half doesn't have grass. And in some of the places where she couldn't grow grass successfully, she put in a patio. And there are a couple of things. One, pistache has a lot of ground roots, so feeding your lawn and feeding your grass is really important. They also develop a lot of foliage every year, and so they create a lot of heavy shade. So they're a tree that has to be pruned a lot so that you can get light to come through. And then because of their feeder root system, you need to have an irrigation system. There are some St. Augustines that are new that require less light, but not off the charts to the other side. So probably the best thing that would be really competitive with that, if you have a way to create the space, would be to use Asian jasmine, which I just told you I tore out of my yard because I didn't like it, but it actually is still in a section of my yard, and it is a very hardy, when established, it's a very hardy ground cover. It'll take a lot of dry, cold, and wet periods.
But keep it contained.
Ma'am?
Keep it contained.
Put a steel border where you want it to stop and weed eat it. Even if we put it in somebody's flower bed, we put a steel border in the flower bed where we want the Asian jasmine to end so it doesn't grow under all the other plants.
So mainly around the tree.
Yes. Is that a good answer for you? Okay, yes, ma'am.
What do you do at city public service when they come in and really hack your trees?
What do you do about city public service? It's a very difficult problem. I mean, I think one of the main things, you have no control because that is their space, but what you do, try to do is go out and say, this is how I would appreciate having my trees treated, and we've done this with our clients. And normally, if you can talk to people who are working on the crews, they'll be more likely to try to work with you. Not always, but more likely.
I did that and stood there and watched them, so they did exactly what I asked them to do.
Yes,
Otherwise, they just, whatever tree they touch, they get made, so they don't care.
yes. I think being there helps. Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned the Xeon zoysia that's 6 inches, grows about 6 inches tall.
Yes, ma'am.
I have toddler grandchildren, 2, 3, 4, and they're in and out of the pool. And I have some collections and granite. If I'm going to try to plant something short, it doesn't have to be cut all the time. Is that what you would recommend?
It doesn't wear real well with heavy wear. It'll take, like if you have a dog that runs the fence, the Xeon will have a problem where that dog runs the fence every day. Yes, and it has to have great drainage in order to work well. I would think that if you've got a lot of water there and getting in and out of the pool, as much as I hate to say it, either one of the low light zoysias like Jammer could work there well, and you could keep it cut and it wouldn't get so long and it'd be a little tougher, or some of the new St. Augustines that are denser.
Would that grow in granite, decomposed granite, or would you still have to put more soil in?
More soil would be better. Yes, ma'am.
What kind of specialists do you look for in the yellow pages if you have drainage problems? We have a big sloping hill that when it rains, it's partly our neighbors and partly our problem, but it is completely washed away like big gutters that on a certain drive. But, I mean, who do you call? What specialists do you use?
If it's a severe problem that you feel like can't be solved by someone building it up and slowing down the drainage or collecting the drainage, which would be somebody like a landscape person, an engineer would be a good person to talk to. If you want, I can give you a name after. Yes, ma'am.
I have a very unusual problem.
It's a very unusual problem we have.
Very unusual problem. I have a raised house that's built on a tennis court. And the perimeter of the house that's exposed tennis court has granite. Yeah, decomposed granite.
She lives in a home that's built on a tennis court that has been laid over with decomposed granite.
Yeah, and the problem is this decomposed granite gets under your shoes, especially your tennis shoes, which we wear a lot, and comes into the house, and we'd love to get rid of. If we get rid of it, we have a green tennis court that's exposed next to the grass. And the tennis court is green, and it has some cracks in it, and we don't know how to handle this green tennis court.
One of her questions, which will relate to her project, but to everyone, decomposed granite has become a really product that's used a whole lot, and people use it a whole lot, and it does track in, and it does come in a whole lot into your home. So if you can have a hard paved space, a little space before you get there, it's always good to help get that, and then some really fantastic mats. Those are two things that'll help with that, but you're going to have to get a hard space so that some of the granite can get off your feet before you get there. Thank you all so much for coming. Enjoyed being with you.